My name's Donald MacNaughton. I'm a high-performance coach. I live up in Inverness in the Highlands of Scotland, and I work with athletes and I work in the corporate world, just really helping people get and achieve their goals through their thinking, how they think and how they control their emotions.
So what qualifies you to be a high-performance coach? How did you find yourself in this world?
It's as Jerry Garcia, the great lead singer of the Grateful Dead, says, it's been a funny old trip. So I actually lived down here in the 80s, the mid-80s, and did my degree in sport at Roehampton Institute. So I studied psychology as a part of that, and then I took a meandering journey through the corporate world before coming back into the sports world and setting up a high-performance psychology business then. That was about 9 years ago now, and at that point there wasn't too many people doing it. So I got some introductions and worked into football, and I got quite a lot of success there as well. As you can imagine, there was a few sceptical eyes raised, but when people see success and they see their results increasing, that's when people start to take interest.
It hasn't just been a kind of a plain easy journey for you though either, has it?
I think, I alluded to that a little bit. One of the strengths of my work is that it's not just come from a book. It's not academic. It's not here's the way it should work according to the book. My journey's been one of overcoming, addictions and depression as well. So I know what it's like to come up against really tough problems, not feel great, to put it lightly, but to find the internal resources within yourself to overcome them, and not just overcome them, go on, create something you want to create. And that type of barriers, that type of feeling is whether it be in the sports field or just in life in general, it's ones that most of us recognise. What
are the barriers that generally hold people back, in your opinion?
I think, I just taken out, my first book that's got done really well on Amazon, The 12 Hidden Laws of Performance, and although there's 12 laws, there's 3 themes that come through it, and one of the first things that hold people back is their own thinking. It's how we think about the world, and that in turn, how we create the world within us. There's then how we act in the world, so the actions we take. And one of the things I've seen, I'm laughing about it, a friend of mine referred me to a friend of theirs and said, "Donald, can you speak with Joe over there?" And I says, "Well, what's happening?" He says, "Well, he's been doing this visualization stuff and it hasn't been working." So I gave Joe a call and said, what's been going on? And he said, "Well, I've read The Secret, I've done the visualization, but everything's the same." And I said, "Have you been doing anything?" He says, no, I haven't been doing anything, but I've been visualizing." So the second key point is you have to take action, and that's one thing you notice in sport and any performance environment. It's intelligent effort. So it's taking actions, the third thing. And I think one of the second thing, the third big challenge to most people is recognising the champion within. I think that's my final 12th law, is champions recognise the champions within. It's the actions, but it's how you marshal your internal resources. And being a champion or a winner in life is not some point in the future. It's not somewhere to get to. Because I know tons of people that say, right, when I get that gold medal, when we score this goal, then I know I'm good. But champions within know it's, if you already knew that, what would you do today? So champions within start doing the things today and feel like a champion today. And that gets them the results. A great story in the beginning of my book, for me it was quite profound. I was working with a young football player, and he said to me, "Oh, things are not going well." And he never put it that politely. And I says, "Well, what's going on?" He says, "Oh, I should be in the first team." And I says, well, what are you doing? Why aren't you in the first team? And he said, oh, they don't think I'm here good enough, or not saying to this. I said, so we were speaking about it. He says, well, what about your attitude? And he says, oh, I'll change my attitude when they give me a shot. And we spoke a little bit around it. And I said, well, what would happen, do you think, if you changed your attitude tomorrow and you went in and did all the things that a first team player would do? And we were speaking for about 30 minutes, and he left the room. And he was he had a wee bit of a glint in his eye. And he emailed me, the next day, this was on the Thursday, and he emailed me on the Friday, and he said, I was playing in front of 30 people today, and the manager came up to me after and said, you're like a different boy. You're starting the first team game tomorrow. And he went from playing in front of 30 people to the next day coming on in front of 58,000. So that's, change happens in an instant. It's not magic, it's what you do and how you are in the moment.
Let's say, for instance, that I'd just been paid £50 million and I was playing for Chelsea and I couldn't score a goal. Just say.
Yeah.
What would you recommend to get me back on track again?
Coming back, keeping it simple. I think that's so much of it. What it comes down to is, if you think of what gets in our way, what interferes with our performance is, and this is what happens a lot, it's expectations. Well, if I run onto the park, I'm expected to score 2 goals. And sometimes it's not even score a goal, I'm expected to score 2 goals. And that affects how you move. Things close down rather than close up. So my advice would be keeping it, there's other things you can do, but keeping it back to simple things. I've seen a £50 million footballer lose his balance in front of an open goal. And it's keeping it simple. It's not rocket science, as with much of these things. Keeping it simple, not always easy to do though.
Do you deal with people in other sports as well? So it's across the board?
Yeah, I deal with people in football, rugby. A real interesting area I work a lot in is motor racing, where a thought can make the difference between winning the championships and losing the championship over the course of a season, where it's hundreds, thousands of a second. So what is really important then, like we were speaking about in the football, is increasing your awareness, increasing your mindfulness that my mind is wandering from the simple task in hand and it's getting pulled off to the things that could stop me, or the fear, or rather than going forward, I'll look in my mirrors. And you'll see motor racing, sometimes it's like a magnet when they start that. Rather than going forward, they're almost as if they're getting drawn back into the cars. So motor racing's a big one for me, actually.
I mean, it's quite clear that obviously these are very high-octane sports and very important decisions moment to moment. But does that relate to everyday life for normal people?
I think the best way, I was down working in Manchester last week with 12 high-performance coaches, rugby coaches, and I put a PowerPoint up. We were talking about, and I don't usually use PowerPoint, but it was a more formalised session, and I put the PowerPoint up and said, this is the definition of sports psychology. The psychological and emotional factors that affect performance and learning. And as you say that, you see the eyes glazing over. Oh no. And then I says, guys, it's basically being human. How you deal with being human in a performance environment. But then when you take it out in life, that's it. What it is, sport actually shows up and magnifies human frailties and strengths. So it's just an arena that shows us what it's like. And that's why people love it. That's why the Olympics are the greatest show on earth. That's why, you know, football is such a global brand, because it pulls at something. We know it. I watch my boy using his imagination when he scores a goal, and he's not Don MacNaughton, he's Lionel Messi. And that's the power of it. So I think it really is applicable to life. And whether you like sport or not, it's about being human to the best of your ability.
Okay, so tell us where we could get some more information about your course and your book and so forth.
Well, like every self-respecting guru, I've got my own book out, and they can pick it up at the www.the12lawsofperformance.co.co. And I've also got a blog, which is www.don.macnaughton, MacNaughton.org.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.